Hi everyone, this is the Colonel from Molotov Med Cocktail. I just wanted to post kind of an update. It's been a while since I've posted, I recognize that, and I'm sorry if my fans are kind of missing my posts. I am posting this, making a video, because it's been about 5 years this month, it's actually been about exactly 5 years this month since my last suicide attempt in 2010, and I've been clean. I've been clean from self-harm and suicide, and it's a big deal. It really is to me, and it's been a real journey, and I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about what that means to me and what my experiences have been with the mental health system and why that matters so much. So this is just gonna, maybe this will turn into multiple updates, maybe it'll be one, but I think this is a story worth telling. I was in a really bad place. You may have guessed that from what I did, but I was diagnosed late with my conditions. You got autism, you've got bipolar, you've got a host of anxiety disorders, OCD, GAD, a number of others, kind of other health issues going in there too, but those are kind of the main ones, and we didn't know any of this. I was just kind of fumbling around, and people kind of knew something was off about me, but they didn't really put together until I was about 12 years old and completely falling apart that there was something wrong. And it was about when I was 12 years old that I started getting these thoughts, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, I started getting those thoughts when I was about 9. I remember my first time I started insulting myself. I was in class, and I did something wrong. It was something really minuscule, something ridiculous that, any 9-year-old would make that mistake. But I took it really hard and started writing "I am stupid" over and over and over on a piece of paper. That's pretty sad for a 9-year-old, a young kid that young, to just think so low of themselves. And of course the teacher saw it and said, "Don't write that." But there was just kind of this theme throughout my childhood of people kind of sweeping things under the rug. People who should have been speaking up to my parents, saying, "Hey, your kid's got some weird stuff going on here." Explaining to them maybe that they should be getting me checked out, especially when I'm talking like that and saying things like, I'm going to kill myself. My parents never heard me say those things until I was about 13. But enough other people should have been tipped off that something was going on that they could have spoken up. I'm kind of going off on a trail here. Don't mind my ramblings, but basically this is kind of a long history of just self-abuse and self-flagellation, just hating myself because I didn't really fit into society's standards of what was acceptable. I was passing enough to not look like a disabled person, but not enough to not look like a total weirdo who didn't belong, and who was frankly just quite open to ridicule from children and abuse too. But I'm here to talk about specifically, just the mental health system. And I think people as a whole, not just mental health professionals, but society as a whole, has a responsibility to speak out on these issues. It's basically everybody's responsible in this. You think something's going on, you have a right to speak up and say, "Are you okay?" Kind of tip people off that maybe something needs to be checked out. Don't just blow things off if you think there may be more to what's going on. If it looks like, they're just kind of offbeat, it may not, they may be, but treat people well and treat them like they deserve to be understood. Back to the kind of the hospitalization side of things. My first hospitalization was when I was, I think, 13, and I had fallen very deeply in love with a boy I went to school with, and I acted in ways around that boy that were very unacceptable, because I was depressed and I loved him, and I kind of just couldn't wrap my head around the idea that he didn't want to pursue anything with me romantically. That was not even on his radar, that I was kind of crossing boundaries that were not okay. But on top of that, I was just not in my right mind. I'm just being honest. This isn't to say anything about anybody else with mental health issues or even my own disorders. You know what they say, seen one person with blah blah blah, you've seen one person with blah blah blah. But basically it's just I look at this and I think, okay, that kid was in a lot of pain. And I get to the mental health system, of course my mom admitted me to the psych ward, not because I was in love with this boy and acting inappropriately, but I guess you could say in a sense I was acting inappropriately, since I was, how do I say this nicely, I was kind of unable to consent to my safety. My mom tried to get me to promise that I wouldn't hurt myself, and I literally could not promise her that. There was too much honesty within me to just say, oh yeah, I'll be fine, and then just sneak off and do it. It's just not who I am. I kind of just spoke up and said, I'm probably going to do it. But, my mom wasn't happy with that answer, and she, of course, took me to the hospital for my first hospitalization, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience. This was the teen unit because, I'm a teenager at that time, and it was kind of heartbreaking in some ways, and also just really interesting in others. There were all kinds of walks of life in there, but that's kind of the thing about those places, is you put all these different walks of life in there. They're all kind of, you got your drug addicts, you got your people with depression and suicide and self-harming and eating disorders. Tell me what any of those things have anything to do with each other. I mean, yes, they're all technically they're all technically disorders of mental health, but ultimately, what do they have in common in terms of actual treatment? And why would you want all those people in one group setting working through their problems in an intensive healthcare situation? That to me is a major flaw with the system, is that we have this big focus on group therapy when what we really need is individualized intensive care. One-on-one with patients who have harder issues to work with. I certainly am for putting people in one place, not isolating them. That would be very creepy. And there's a lot of gray area about institutionalization in general. There are a lot of people in the mental health community who argue it's just wrong, period. Speaking for myself personally and no one else, I know that I have needed it in times, because I was unable to consent to my safety but that does not mean I therefore consent to how some of these places are set up. Let's just be frank. Some of the conditions in these places are revolting. Just basically, you've got cameras watching your every move everywhere you go. Literally, when you sleep, you've got a camera in there. When you go to the bathroom, there's no lock on the door in some of these places. And there were several occasions where I asked for things like, oh, can I have a pencil, or can I have my markers? I'm an artist. I love to draw, and I was totally into that as a teenager too. And I just wanted to know if I could have a pencil or a marker. A marker I thought would be fine, because I won't be able to hurt myself with a marker as easily. But they're like, no, you're gonna that's a concern for vandalism. Way to instill faith in the people you're treating, that you trust them, or that they're a human being even that deserves your trust or love or respect. And I could just keep going on, and I probably will, but I think this is a good time to stop and maybe write a separate part to this series. Alright, thanks guys, talk to you later.